So how hard is it to replace this? Well, I've done it a couple times, so we're going to do it today. And the reason is this one is leaking in the cord. And I would just replace the cord because that would be cheaper, but I can't find the right one. So I actually have this other one on hand that I like better, so we're just going to switch it out. And then I'll toy with this one and see if I can find the right cord to go in there. So I'll walk you through, I'll show you how difficult this is, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. I think I may actually try to recaulk back here while I have this out because that is much, much easier. I won't really show you that part though. Just know there'll be like a 2-hour break in the middle where I'm doing that. You don't have to worry about that though. All right, let's go buy some caulk. So let me just tell you up front, the things you'll need and the hardest part of this project, even as I show you some of the video of taking care of this, what you'll need really is just some wrenches. I think a 5/8 was the size to undo the water lines for me, and that may be the case for you depending on the system you have. The wrenches to get up under the sink is also part of the hardest part. So this is where what you have on hand may or may not work, and it may depend on the design of your sink as a whole. Climbing up under the cabinet under the sink is hard for me. That's a physically demanding thing. For over the years of being a homeowner, I don't know how many times I've had to do that, and you just kind of, it's going to hurt a little bit. But so getting up to where the sink comes down through, where the faucet base comes through the sink, and tightening or untightening the nut there that holds everything in place is probably the most physically difficult, and also where you need some kind of wrench that will fit in there. So I was able to loosen the one there with my adjustable wrench, and I probably could have gotten the other one in with just my adjustable wrench. But this specialty wrench really came in handy there because I was able to get it in there and tighten down the new faucet in a way that I probably would have struggled to with just an adjustable wrench. Now, I also have a basin wrench, which is a kind of a specialty tool, and I rarely use it, and I actually didn't find it very effective for this particular job, but maybe I didn't fiddle with it enough. Sometimes it's hard to get it at the right angle to latch on in the right way. So the entire project could have just been a hose replacement if I had known up front that the old faucet was a Pfister. But I usually keep boxes for everything, but with this one I couldn't find it. So I'd probably had it in about 10 years, I'm guessing. Probably less than that actually. But if I'd known, I could have bought that hose and probably replaced it. I still may have wanted a backup faucet, but I decided with this backup faucet just to install it. I had bought a hose for a Moen, thinking that this was probably a Moen, but I never could find it. I'm going to show you here, though, where I found Pfister and where it labels Delta. The process looks like this. So you've got to turn the water off. So most setups, you're going to have a place to turn off the water going to your sink. If you don't have that, you're going to turn off the main water before you disconnect these. And then when you have turned off the water, make sure it's off, and then you will unhook the connectors for the faucet in place. So there's usually going to be a hot and a cold. You need to unconnect both of those. And once you've done that, then if your design is like this and you have the faucet hose that is a pull-out, you're going to need to disconnect that. Now, these all connect and disconnect a little bit differently, but the Pfister version that I disconnected was a pretty neat and easy one. And then the Delta was also pretty easy to disconnect and reconnect here. Both of them have clips involved. It's basically just a push connector and then something which keeps it in place. Part of the whole project is you want to make sure you're putting a faucet in which fits. So some sinks have 3 holes and some have only 1. This one only has 1 hole, and so it will not take any other kind. What you want to consider, though, is if you have a 3-hole sink, then you're going to need something to cover the extra holes if you go with this 1-hole system. And that's just something to consider as you're switching them out. So once it's in place, like I said, screwing it, tightening it down, and making sure that it's secure enough is going to be the biggie. Now with this one, I did find the one I was putting in did have a broken piece. Every project has its little snafus. So with this one, I was able to move a piece from the replaced faucet to the new one to make it work and be secure enough underneath. So tightening it down and making sure that it was in place probably helps here to have a second set of hands. I didn't have anybody at home, so I tried some tape to try to keep it in place while I tightened it down. Not the best approach, but it worked okay. And I was able to get it tightened down in place where I wanted it. You make sure that that base is secure, and then you're going to just reconnect the hoses. Again, make sure that they're good, that you have good connections there so you're not going to have any leaks. And then once you have everything reconnected, then you're going to test the faucet and look for leaks always when you've done any plumbing. I find that like for 48 hours, I keep looking to make sure nothing is actually leaking. I do have a water sensor in here from Akara. I have a video on that elsewhere if you want to check that out. But it's just a reassurance for me having a few of these sensors near places that are likely to leak. All right, so I got back from the hardware store and got my caulking done. Caulking is something I'm still not good at. I've been a homeowner for 22 years and I've caulked a lot of things, and I don't know if I've ever done it super well. So what you will not be seeing from me is a video on tips for caulking. So maybe a video on how not to caulk. This is a pretty good caulk. I like to put good caulk in areas like this. There's also a high pressure spot because this is probably the most visible caulk in the whole house. That's what worries me about it, and I hate when it gets dirty and messed up. All right, so what secures a sink in place is these come up under. So this is the plate with this one, and then the broken plastic piece that I'm going to see if I can fix without having a problem. So obviously if the sink won't stay still, then we still have a problem. So about 2 hours there. I paid $25 for the used faucet. I'm guessing it's 250 new. So I hope that was helpful. One of my favorite stories ever told is this man who approaches a woman and tells her, as he asks for a drink, and she has a conversation with him then, and he proceeds to tell her that he can give her living water. And you may know the story, but I think that is so amazing because of what he claims there. Because he goes on to tell her he can give her water that will cause her to never thirst again. And even fixing things. I think we go about this life trying to fix things all the time because we're looking for that. We're looking for something lasting, something eternal. We're made for something more. And so that story turns as she asks him some questions, and she basically tells him, you know, we're looking for a Messiah. And he turns to her and says, I am he, I am the Messiah. And just one of the most incredible things, if you're a Bible reader, that you'll ever find there. So John chapter 4, if you want to read it for yourself. Hope the video was helpful. Thanks for watching.